Hello and welcome to Uncovered, the podcast with your host, Jason Irving. Join me in a journey to understand what's truly happening in your world and the world around you. This is not about how you're living life on the surface. It's about what's truly driving you from under the covers. I'm going to take you on a journey to deeply uncover the reason why you are here, the ultimate purpose in your problems and the way that they have shaped your life up until now. See, I believe you have a purpose, and your problems are the highway towards ultimate realization of that journey towards freedom and the reconnection of your true self. I've been told I have a different spin on most things, and I'll be giving you my understanding of life, love, and what we're all here for, purpose. To get the best out of this podcast, drop what you already know so you can discover what's beyond you. So join me, let's play this game of life and bring on liberation, transformation, and change. Let's do this. Okay, guys, welcome to this amazing conversation. I'm so looking forward to chatting to you three about, mental health choices, what it is to actually run a business and how stressful it can be when you're the pin of your business. And what do you do when when we're struggling, because we don't know how to speak to people half the time when we're not in good shape, do we?
No, definitely not.
It's one of those biggest challenges. So I've got Bobby, Chris, and Marcus here, who are phenomenal business owners in their own right, and they're phenomenal at what they do, right? And I'm not here to talk about me. I'm here to talk and open up you guys about your decisions that you've made to prioritize your mental health and your well-being over a buck. Okay, so Bobby, can we open up with you, Bobby? You had this amazing business, and I used your service a couple of times to buy property, and I was, not real good at this wealth stuff, and you sort of settled me down. I rang you up one day, and I was shitting myself, and you called me, you settled me down and said everything's going to be okay, Jay. And if I didn't do that, my equity in that property has gone up $300,000 in such a short period of time, but it could have gone to nothing because I was shat myself. So tell me, Bobby, with your experience that you've had, you decide to leave your business. Why?
So there was a few reasons. It's funny, we're talking before we hit record, and we're talking about mental health and burnout and whatnot. And one of the main reasons was for me, I could tell that I just wasn't enjoying not just the business anymore, but just life. I was struggling to find enjoyment in just the smallest things. And my friends were saying, "Look, you've completely changed." I was becoming a lot more numb, and I just felt a lot more flat, and I just had no energy. And um, I actually got a blood test. It was about 12 months ago. I got a blood test in my thyroid just because I didn't feel right. And my thyroid was through the roof, and the local GP said, "You got to go on medication for the rest of your life." And I actually went to a naturopath, and the naturopath talked a lot more about my lifestyle and what's impacting me and a few changes that I can make. And I made a few changes in regards to lifestyle, and 12 months later, I've got that blood test, and thyroid's completely normal, and everything else has gone back to normal as well. But in regards to your question, so why did I leave? I had just had my third child, and one of the things I always wanted to do was to be able to spend some time with my kids before the eldest start school. Um, Business was at a point where it was completely automated in a sense that we had salespeople doing the sales, buyers agents doing the buyers, buying, marketing doing the marketing, and it was very much self-sufficient. But by the time I left, it wasn't just me; it was me and my business partner, and he didn't have family, he didn't have kids, and he wanted to continue growing the business. And I could just tell his goals were not aligned with mine, given the different stages of life that we were at. I just knew that business, the direction was heading in, would no longer fulfill my goals, and that was family at that time. So I would have looked back in 20 years time or 10 years time and regretted it for forever if I knew I had that chance to spend 12 or 18 months with my family, but I didn't do it. So that was, my biggest driver. I was just telling you, Jason, I've got a few months left of my non-compete, and as much as I've been really grateful for the last 18 months, I'm very, very excited to get back into the same space again. And it's a space that I'm passionate about. Just got to wait for the non-compete to finish.
Yeah, it's a massive thing because I'm talking to three geniuses. Like these guys are at the top of their tree in the work that they do. So naturally, you've got this an amazing, phenomenal want to actually run your purpose and your passion, right? And then it can come at a cost, can't it?
It can, and I think one of the things for me, I'm really fortunate that the business actually did really well before I sold out, and the reason why that was such a positive for me, I mean, really well financially, because if it didn't do well financially, I probably would have stayed longer, thinking that more money would have made me happy.
Yeah.
But I'm so lucky that financially it exceeded our expectations, but I was just feeling more and more empty and more miserable in the business. So I knew it was an easy decision because I knew more money is not the problem. Whereas I think a lot of people get stuck in their business and continue trying to grow their business because they think an extra zero will fulfill that emptiness that they have or at their job or whatever it might be. Whereas, like I said, I was lucky that we sort of hit our financial goals and I was just feeling more and more empty as it went on.
Yeah, I love that, mate. And Chris, what about you? You've had a very similar story. I've been watching you on Facebook, and how you approach. We've met a number of years ago in an amazing program, and I watched you do the same thing. You post looking at your family and what really matters. Can you talk to us about where you went?
Yeah, so I've got four daughters, and for me, it's always been a case of like money was something that I knew I wanted because it would give me freedom. Freedom was a word, and I think freedom's a lot of is the word that a lot of us would resonate with what it is that we want. But I think we go off the garden path pretty bloody quickly because we think the metric that is going to get us there is money. And that is just one small metric that it actually equals. And so I sold my last company because I was just completely out of alignment with that business. I'd grown past it. I knew I wanted to do more and different and everything like that. And then was able to have a very successful exit, super awesome, extremely positive experience. I went straight into, not like Bobby's situation, I literally went straight into building the next thing the same day. I had that last Zoom call and doing exit everything out and was onto it. Um, but then doing, I had successful ventures after that. I did a really successful consulting offer. I did a really successful agency, but then I was building because I thought I wanted more money. And I was like, all right, the next business I want to exit for 50 million. I knew the numbers. I knew what I needed to do. Doing marketing does this, sales does this, operations does this, like all of that stuff. And it just continued to feel out of alignment. And it just got worse and worse and worse. And I resonate so strongly with you, Bobby, when you talk about the lack of joy. I swear to God, I got to a point where I was just like, I don't even know if I can feel joy. Like I don't even feel like where is that? It's not there anymore. And so I literally burnt that multi-million dollar business down to the ground and started again because I was like, I'm going to do it off the model that is best going to resonate with what I want to do, but also giving me the life that I want at the end of the day as well. I love being able to do my school pickups. I'm going to take my two oldest to their dance lessons this afternoon. I'm always there doing that. Like I have the freedom to be able to move around, for us to travel, and I'm extremely appreciative of it as well. And so, one thing that I want to expand in this is we're talking about mental health before we hit record. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of the issue does come up with because you might be listening to someone and go, oh my God, that person's doing so well. Chris has exited business. They've got this other stuff. It's going so good. And there just becomes this gap between where the person is and where they want to go and where they are looking at where other people are. And that gap causes suffering. And so I want to be able to not have that comparison gap there because I also want to say, as many as the good things that have happened, do you know what I mean? I've had suicidal ideation in my life. I've been clinically depressed. Do you know what I mean? I've very much lost my ways and I've had to see every healer, do every psychedelic, do you know what I mean? Read all the books and like do everything possible to kind of come about to find peace at the end of the day. And I think that's where I really come about to like some key factors where I think we can all be better aligned with is like the good life is not about more, it's about enough. And where we can go so wrong is the scoreboard that most people play by. They're looking at a scoreboard, and it's easy because dollars is an easy scoreboard to look at to know whether I'm winning or losing. However, it is an immature way to play life at the end of the day. Because if we started to include things in the scoreboard, like did I spend the morning with my kids? Did I actually train my body? Did I do something meaningful during the day and still have peace at night time? Um, I think that's a lot of the case. So I'll leave it there because I think this is highly fascinating. I think this is the stuff that people just aren't talking about and that actually matters at the end of the day as well. Because
It does.
I've gotten to the point, I think, Bobby, you spoke to this as well, where I was like, yeah, more money doesn't really change anything. Like, like genuinely, like you put another 10 mil in the bank account, yeah, the toys will change for sure, but I'm still wearing the same clothes. I still like to work 3 to 4 hours during the day. I'm still going to go and train and then do school pickup, like those fundamental things. And I think what it comes down to is one, being able to have the cojones and the balls to actually like know oneself and not mimic and regurgitate what other people are doing because you might think like they're good or do you know what I mean they're the success. And I just think that's an immature way to live life.
Yeah, I love that, Chris. And I think what you said there, which is so good, I'm going to reiterate it, an immature way to score life, right? And I agree. Like money is. I see a lot of this with people who, they get their money and then the next time see them in a photo is they're next to a Ferrari, I'm like, why?
Look,
Right?
if a fancy car is like your thing and it makes you feel good, like fucking, or I'm all for you.
That's okay.
I'm dead set rooting for you. Like I've had a six-figure watch sitting on my wrist, and then I was like, what the fuck am I doing? What a douche. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that wasn't me. And I think that's where it comes down to. And so, like, do you mean like we've got plenty of friends that have like I've got one mate, he's got multiple like very expensive cars. But that's his thing. And so therefore I'm like absolutely rooting for it. Like, dude, I
100%.
don't even own a car at the moment. I bought my wife a car with what she wanted. I got a fixie. I got a single wheel push bike that I'm going to ride to the bike after this, ride to the gym after this. Doing like that's my mode of transportation right now.
Yeah. Look, one of
I
my
think,
mates, he has 60 cars,
Shit.
right? So
wow.
you imagine the level of affluence that he has, right? And he's given me this information. He never shares anything. He's not on socials. He's not showing off anything at all. He's just doing his thing. And he said to me, and I've spoken to a lot of very, very wealthy people over the years. And he's very, very happy. And he said this to me, never show off what you have, focus on what you do for others.
Mm,
And and that's the difference between the person who's just got the money, I've got to show you what I've got, to the person who's actually comfortable with their income, right? And they're able to do their thing without going, hey, look at me, because he's got great cars, but he never goes and shows them. He's just doing it.
I heard a quote from Alain de Botton a couple of weeks ago, which was the sign of a good parent is that the child has no interest in fame. And I just, that resonated with me. Do you know what I mean? Like, not like obviously for my own four daughters as well, like as me as a father, but also within myself. And I'm like, are you looking for outside validation from the world for something? Because a lot of the time when you're looking for that outside validation, mate, you're looking in the wrong place.
Yeah.
100%. And this is the biggest challenge. Marcus, I'd love to bring you up here, mate, to talk about this. I remember how you were on my first ever video I watched on a program was actually you. I was on your program and I jumped on another one. And in 6 weeks, you got your program up to seven figures in 6 weeks, really, really quickly. And the speed in which you got everything done, did it make you happy? Like what happened with you in the formula around success and that sort of stuff?
Yeah, well, I think I've had a slightly different journey to Bobby and Chris in that I probably came to the party later than what you guys. It sounds like your children are a little bit younger than mine. Mine are at the other end of the scale now, 25, 21, and 17. And, I think I've definitely placed that money sort of target goal in front of a lot of things over time. And I've had a interesting father that supported that because his love language is money, and his whole focus has been money, and that's look. Hats off, he's been incredibly successful and incredibly wealthy, but sometimes it's about following your own path rather than the path that's been placed in front of you. And I've often been a bit of a slow learner with that, I think. Um, but yeah, I've hit various goals with money, and that's been lovely and wonderful. And at the time, that was great. I remember actually talking about cars. I remember when I bought my first sort of European sports car, an Audi Quattro Turbo, and I remember the excitement of, having bought that car, and I was just about to go. I went down to the dealer to get my car, and I remember sitting in it, and I turned the engine on, and I went, "Oh fuck, this is what this is. This is not it. I thought this would be it. I thought this would be the thing that would make me more joyful than anything." And then it was just like, wow. And then there's the lease, right? The joy lasted 5 minutes. The lease lasted 3 years or whatever. And I think that was one of my first sort of realizations. But it's very easy to get drawn in and caught in it, I've found. When I built Wellness Leadership Academy, which was, highly successful, and, thankfully it sort of took its own place. And when COVID came along, we ran a sort of global live event type business is what we were running. And when COVID came around, it stopped that live event business in its tracks. And in some respects, I'd heard a message a year earlier that, it was time to move on from that or sell it or do whatever. And I didn't listen. And I was traveling all the time. So I missed a lot of my kids growing up, which was, which I sort of regret now. All for the guys of making money and making a difference on the planet, blah, blah, whatever. So when COVID came, it sort of shut that down. And I really had a moment just to sit and feel into myself and just go, what is it that I want, and then create a business around that. And, like you, Chris, I take my daughter to school every day, pick her up from school, and, I'm able to be wherever I need to be, which, is really, a blessing now. And I think I've made peace with money, as in, I don't see any purpose for making 100 million, a billion, whatever, millions of dollars. I think it's about what's enough to be really comfortable and be able, and if I think about most people on the planet, I'm incredibly comfortable. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
not a billionaire, that's for sure, or anywhere up that way, but incredibly comfortable. And I've watched my dad, since these realizations, and he is constantly in a state of stress, worrying that someone's going to take it. Who's
Yeah.
going to take it, and how do I protect myself? And and even I had a chat with him one day, because he even overlaid that onto me and my brother. And I just sat down and I said, Dad, I don't want your money. I'm not going to steal your money. I don't want to take your money. I've got my own money. It's all good, right? Anything you gift me or give me or leave me, I'm blessed and honored, and thank you so much. But it was kind of a weird realization when I had to have that conversation, that he even thought I could be one that might take the money. And so I think I realized that I've had that, whatever you want to call it, wounding or gift or whatever, overlaid onto me. And so that's driven my behavior, a lot until, till COVID sort of came, and that was another awakening. Because I think sometimes, I don't know about what you guys think, but sometimes you build these businesses and then they sort of get a life of their own and they become their own monster. And they sort of start running your life rather than you running your business, and they just sort of take over. And I found you wake up one day and it's like, what the hell is going on? And then there's this massive engine you've got to keep running. Like, you can't just go, oh, I'm just going to turn the lights off tomorrow. There's this massive engine that keeps running. And I think for a number of years with my last business, I just kept it running because the engine was so big. I just had to keep up with it, otherwise the whole So COVID was a blessing in that respect.
And you had that moment where you melted down, and I came and caught you up.
I had a full meltdown or existential crisis, I suppose, and I went to some pretty dark places. I have to say, when I reached out to you, Jason, it's probably the closest I've been to going, what's the point? Just, who would care if I wasn't here? Like, it wouldn't really matter. I know that's not true, but that's the thought pattern you go into. It's like, I fucked this up so badly that everyone would be way better off without me. And I think I just went to that really dark place, which was a real soul sort of dark night of the soul, or, journey that I went on. And
What made you reach out to me, Marcus? What made you make that decision? Because a lot of people just yank. This is the boys thing, right? We yank ourselves and leave. as opposed to reach out and get
Well,
help, don't we? It's a
yeah, I just
standard
think
thing.
yeah, I think I'm lucky enough to be hopefully, just connected enough sometimes to feel into what do I need and who do I need to reach out to, and I just think you came across my path at the right time in the right moment. Again, I mean, we'd obviously been connected for years, but I think I was thinking about, okay, I've got two choices here: I either finish and go, or I reach out and get some help. And you just turned up at the right time, and we chatted, and here we are.
Yeah, still breathing. And I think
Still
this is
breathing. Yeah.
so important, isn't it? So we've got to know how to do certain things when we're stressed, and a lot of the time men don't reach out. They go in, right?
Yeah.
We'll turn to alcohol, we'll turn to drugs, we'll turn to exercise. We can do anything at all to try and hide. Like as you put your hand up there, Chris, going, me here, having that experience where what's the point in all of this is such a big statement that we all have. Someone to talk to that?
Oh, Marcus, it's so amazing you said that because I remember so clearly thinking I should just go. I'm a burden upon everyone. Everyone won't matter if I go. It doesn't matter. Like everyone will be better off. Like I should just wrap it up, done, sort of thing. Let's move on to the next incarnation and hopefully have a bit of, do you mean, spin at the wheel. And I remember being like two sides of me being like logically it made sense to me. Like, and that was one of the scary things. I'm like in my head right now, I can also know that logically it actually makes sense to do that. And then, very thankfully, obviously, didn't follow through or anything like that. But it was just like those thoughts are our soul trying to tell us something right now, and there needs to be some immediate changes made. And you have some tremendous fucking balls, and I commend you, Marcus, for reaching out and talking to someone about it, because I did not. Like, I did not, and I think that's the thing. Is like we need to be able to open up. As men and to be able to say and kind of like it not feel shameful that hey I fucked up, hey this isn't working, like all of these other things. And I think there's a lot of unfortunate emphasis in the culture that we have today where it's like if you win or lose, it's all about you. Like there's no lady of fortune involved. Do you know what I mean? Like there's so much outside of the stuff that we can control as well. Where yeah, I just think it's unfortunate how much shame is actually can be put upon us today when it comes to that sort of stuff, and how much we identify with that as well.
Yeah,
Well,
probably.
Chris and Marcus, can I ask how old were you guys, if you don't mind me asking, when you guys had those thoughts? And how old were your children when you had those thoughts? Because the reason I'm asking that is I feel like I haven't gone down that path. If I stayed in the business, potentially I would have, but I
Yeah.
always feel like you have to be in a really deep and dark space, especially if you have kids, to be having those
You
thoughts.
have to be in an incredibly dark space. I mean, my best friend committed suicide years ago, and he had two very young kids at the time. I think they were sort of 6 and 3, and that was pretty
Wow.
devastating because I helped him a lot through that to try and get him out of it. Because my background is counselling and kinesiology and health, and I've helped lots of people not do it, and to
Yeah.
not be able to help him was kind of an interesting sort of journey in itself. And when I got as close as I got, I sort of got why he did it, right? I got it. I went, okay, I can see now how he did it, And I think that was probably the thing that jolted me out of it to get help was, shit, I can see why he did it, and I can see why I could do it, and yeah, and so I think because I've been in that industry and I've helped lots of people, it probably helped me to allow someone to come and
Yeah. Do that.
chat. You know what I mean? Like, maybe if I hadn't been in that, but my darkness was because I had a business partner that was just horrendous, and we had a horrendous sort of breakup a year, well, 6 months before COVID hit, and it was just horrible. He turned out to be an incredibly horrible narcissist, and it was just yeah. I took that sort of helped sort of push me into that really dark space. Not that it was him who did that, of course. Someone
Yeah.
overlay that onto someone else, but that and a whole lot of other stuff that sort of
Extra stress on top, right?
yeah, it was
Dealing with
just
someone
extra
like that.
stress
It's
and
like a marriage that's, you spend more
well,
time with your business partner than you do with the wife, right? Like,
yeah, yeah. And it becomes a catalyst sort of thing. It's not the thing that's done it, of course. There's years of build up before this happens. But it was certainly a catalyst that sort of pushed me into that darker space, and then into this much brighter place.
That was more recent. You said post-COVID, so wow.
Yeah, it was a year before COVID or thereabouts,
Wow.
and probably a year before that I should have, well, I could have or should have, pulled the pin and moved on. But
It's so interesting because I'm just going to point something out that I did with both Chris and you, Bobby, when I could see you starting to drown. I actually reached out to both of you, how you doing? In a messenger message to both of you. At the time, I knew you guys weren't doing so great, but I just said, hey, how are you? Just to see if you were going to be willing to open a doorway. But both of you went, good, thanks. Right. And I was just like, okay, I just wanted to let them know that,
we all do.
yeah, I was,
Yeah.
I could see the pattern coming, and I was just watching. I was just like, I wonder if I'm safe enough for them to broach me, because I've been that person numerous thousands of times where people have are breathing because I exist. So I was watching you, and then when you split your business up, Bobby, I was like, oh, good, he'll be okay. Right? When you did the same thing, Chris, I was like, oh, good, he'll be okay.
Mm.
But I was watching you both, concerned about your mental well-being, and I was there for you without you even knowing.
We're stubborn pricks, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, you go, Marcus.
I was just going to say, what was your experience, Jason? I mean, we've shared sort of ours. I know you've had your dark nights, and
Well, look, for me, I used to go to Bridges when I was young, and my head would go, just jump. I was that happy guy no one would have known. You know those guys that no one would have known?
yeah,
I was that guy, and I used to hold my hands underneath the rails because my levers, my legs were just fucking jumping like a kangaroo, wanting to leave. And I had some therapy one day, and I remember walking I went straight to the bridge to see what I would do because it was all my life. Never told a single soul. And this is teenage, from single digits too. I was just this, I wanted to check out and had no one to talk to. So then I got to this bridge and it says, you got too much to do. Like, okay, fair enough. And, I've been in the psych ward in 2000. I had some really terrible experiences getting help. Um, and I know what it is to break my own brain. So I know where the brain goes. So I feel very blessed by that experience, and I can see the signs of mental health well before they're going to turn up in someone's physical reality now. So I reach out and touch base and say hello because I know how a brain breaks because I did it from the inside out. I know I went to the absolute extreme, guys, to hear multiple voices coming at you, like schizophrenic sort of stuff, and then all of a sudden pop myself back in, and then I'm like Jason again, and then it's like, okay, how do I get out of this psych ward when I'm in the blue pants and the paper shoes, thinking I'm going to be here forever, right? And then I just spent time, I never told anyone about this. A lot of people knew. There was this whole huge amount of shame around my life, right? I don't have any shame around it now. But then naturally, this thing started to happen where all of these people who were seriously having problems were coming to me because I'd gone to the extreme of my own. So I knew exactly how to put people back together. Does that make sense?
Mm.
And so when I'd see a telling sign, I go, maybe I can come in before a signpost even exists, right? Before someone actually gets to that extreme level. But I've worked with that extreme level lots and lots of times. But it's quite a challenge because mental health is not spoken about, and I was a dumb cat who didn't voice, didn't communicate, and just held it all in. Can you all resonate with that? Like holding it all in and not saying a bloody word to anyone. The dumbest thing men do, the dumbest.
Well, like I think it's really interesting. You said, Jason, that you can pick up on it early. You would have picked up on me having mental health issues before I would have picked up on it. To me, I would have felt flat. I would
Yeah.
have just felt without much energy. I would have felt that there was something wrong. But I mean, I eventually knew what it was and why I had to sort of exit from the business, but you would have picked up on that before I did. For me, it was just I thought maybe something. I thought maybe there was. I don't, that's why I got my bloods done. Like for me, it
Yeah.
wasn't. I didn't know it was a mental health thing. I now look back and it's very very clear. I did journal quite a bit back then, so I'd get everything out of my head and
Mm.
out on paper, which helped. But I think yeah, you've got that skill set where you can pick up on it before people can themselves. And I think if I potentially knew, I may have spoken about it more, but I didn't know
Yeah,
what I was going through at the time.
because you don't know. You're getting tired, and your Mondays, you're starting to get a little bit of Mondayitis. You go, oh, that'll go, right? And then that
Yeah.
Mondayitis gets stronger, and Chris, you've had it for a long time, so that the joy at the front and then the internal heavy. It's very, very common when you see a lot of people who are really joyous guys on the outside, internally check in with them because they will be not good on the inside, a lot of them. So always be mindful of your mates who actually throw like a joy police. They will guarantee having mental health stuff going on. That's the first easy way to see that someone's not going okay when they're trying to let everyone know everything's great.
Can I pull in a thread? And I was
Yeah.
trying to write an essay on this. So this is something pretty salient to myself, right? So like as an entrepreneur, you have to be delusional to a point, right? We have to bullshit ourselves to a point to quite literally be like, I'm going to pull this thing from the unseen to the seen. I'm going to create something out of nothing to something, right? There has to be a certain level of delusion to be able to get to that point and to follow through with it, right? To be like, oh, this can work, this can work, this can work. And we bullshit ourselves so much throughout that process. And I mean, there's a good side to it, there's a not so good side to it as well. And I think I find that interesting because for me, I remember saying, oh, like just around the corner, I just need to do this. Like, do you know what I mean? Like almost rationalizing to myself what needs to be done for this thing to become true or to become a success. And then when I have conversations after it, they're like, oh, dude, like, no, that was not the case at all. And it's like the lens in which I was looking through the world, do you know what I mean, was distorted. And there is an element of needing to bullshit ourselves, but also the bullshit doing, we have to see reality for reality.
100%. But how do we, now we've all had this experience, yeah? It is impossible to tell someone when they're in that delirium, Chris, that they're in it either.
Yeah, you can't argue with stupidity.
No. So you can see it and you're like, hang on, there's a big wall you're about to hit here, and you try and let someone know that everything's fine. Then they smash up
Ah,
against the wall
let
and
me
you're
smash
like,
my head against the wall one more time. I swear to God, it'll work.
yeah. And also you can't tell people who haven't made that money that it's not worth it because they haven't had the experience of it not being worth it yet.
That's exactly what I was going to say when we were talking about the money before, is like all three of us are sitting here, all four of us are sitting here and saying money's not going to make you happy and it doesn't matter how much money you have. But for someone that hasn't made the amount of money that they want to make in life, they're just going to, every time I heard someone say it, I just thought, you're an idiot. I wouldn't listen to them. So I think for everyone who's listening, who's hearing, us for saying that, if it's probably not going to resonate to them, or they're not going to understand unless they've actually made the amount of money that they unless their money they made has surpassed their expectations at some point in their life, they're probably not going to resonate. I think where it becomes toxic or where it becomes dangerous is when that strive for money takes away from all other aspects of your
Yeah.
life. So if money becomes the sole driver to a point where you don't have relationships anymore, to the point where you don't see your children anymore, the point where you're not healthy anymore, to the point where you can't focus on other aspects of your life, that's when it becomes a serious problem.
The interesting part about the money thing is it's so insatiable. You make $10, you want 15. You make $30, you want 100. You make a, do you know what I mean? It just becomes so insatiable, and it never ends.
Mm.
And then at some point, you have an awakening, or you don't have an awakening that gets you to realize that it's quite hollow and shallow, and that chase, like you said, Bobby, means that you sacrifice so many more things that are way more important than money.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
100%.
mean, I don't get me wrong. I love money, and obviously, I think we all love money, and that's part of the reason why you go into business. And I'm excited
Yeah.
about the next business, and part of that is to make money, but not at the cost of relationships and health and spare time, and be able to take the kids to swimming and picking them up, or go on have long weekends whenever I want to, or be able to travel and work remotely. Not at the cost of everything else that you want in life. I don't think money itself is a problem. I think it's when it becomes the only driver and it takes away from everything else.
Yeah, I love that. And I think this is this podcast, this is the reason why I want to get you guys together was to talk about that very thing, to go, well, how do we educate ourselves to know when enough is enough? Like, what do we need to do to actually see the signposts? How do we make sure that we can do health prevention rather than have a massive problem that's going to hit us and hit the wall? Like, how do we do that, guys? Because I know there's been walls that have been hit by all four of us. How can we help others to not hit that wall? What's your suggestion, Chris? Like, what would you suggest?
I think I think especially I'm going to assume it's going to be like there's four white guys right now talking about how money doesn't matter, but it does matter. It's interesting. So I'm going to assume it's going to be more white guys probably listening to us, right? Uh, and so I'm going to be like, let's just make it really practical and talk to like the logical side of the brain that's doing that this guy is listening to right now. And I'd say like actually do the math. Like sit down and figure it out. How much is the life that you want to live going to cost, right? Like figure that stuff out and then actually like literally test it and live at that life. Like I've had two extremely amazing male figures in my life. One like Derek Sivers, I went and spent a few days with Derek over in New Zealand last and like just to see someone be able to really question the paradigm of like why someone's doing something, like why do you want more money? Do like what are you going to actually do with it? Like what's the difference? And so I think for a man right now, there's a case of like do the math. How much is the life that you want to live? How much is your food going to cost? What's the car you want to drive? Do you mean how much do you want for philanthropic work? Like all of that stuff. And then when you get to that number, don't move the fucking goalpost. Do you mean like the biggest way to lose is to constantly move the goalpost? And I think that's where it's a case of we can get good at doing something and playing the game of business because we get outside validation from it, right? We go, oh, I'm doing good and I'm doing better because my business is doing good and there's more money coming in and all this kind of stuff. But it's like, are you a good husband? Are you a present father? Do you mean, are you a good friend? Are you actually creating something in this world that is going to leave this place better than how you found it? Are you peaceful inside? Uh, there's this really amazing book by Steiner, Rudolf Steiner, called The Philosophy of Freedom, and he talks to the German word. So freedom, DOM, with the ending, is the way that I kind of took of this is freedom, DOM, is like the freedom of the outside things that give you. So if I have more money, I can buy things, I can have more time freedom, like that sort of stuff. But the German word Freiheit, which is HEIT to the ending of it, is the freedom within. And that's actually what we want. We want the freedom within at the end of the day, because otherwise you're just going to be constantly battling your monsters inside. And no matter how much money you have, you're still not going to get the thing that you want. So it's that realization of the practical side where it's like, how much is your life actually going to want to work, going to cost you? Just do that. And then there's the feeling, so I dare I even say it, where it's what's the feeling that you want at the end of the day, and how do you actually get there? Because going past, you might be going past the return of actually getting what you want when it comes to money, because you don't actually need more money. Like you need to actually work on your shit inside of yourself.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Thank you, Chris. That's amazing. What about you, Bobby? What do you think? What's the suggestion you would make here?
I think not moving the goalposts, what Chris mentioned, is a massive one. This was a conversation I was having with previous people in the business, because we exceeded all our targets. And look, in business, you always want to strive to do better. But another thing that Chris mentioned was your energy. And if your strive to do better financially in business is having an impact on who you are as a person, having an impact on your relationship with your loved ones, and making you more active with making you more irritable, more stressed, or whatever it is, and that's something that you got to step back and have a look at. And that was part of the reason why I wanted to move on, because I was becoming as a person wasn't really my goals. But I very much agree with Chris. I think you need to have goals in regards to where you want to, I guess, where you want to lifestyle goals. And those, like I would love to live in a house closer to the beach. I'd love to live in a beachfront house. I'd love to do that, but I'd love to have the biggest buyers agency in the country. But I'll also say I'm not willing to do the work because I want to spend time with my family, spend time with my kids, and I want to have more flexibility. So as much as you need to weigh up what your priorities are, there's lots of things that I'd love to have in this world, but I'm fully aware what it's going to take to achieve them. And there's other aspects of my life that are more important to me.
Love that. And what about you,
Can I
Mark?
just say something? Because
Yeah,
what
you
you
go
just
for it. Go
said
for
is
it.
really fucking smart, dude. And I really want people to pick that up, which is what is the price you have to pay for the thing that you want? And are you willing to actually pay that price?
Yeah.
I heard like a billionaire ages ago. I forget the name, but a billionaire, and he was like, "Well, if you want to become a billionaire, you've got to be prepared to miss your daughter's sweet 16th because you'll be cutting a deal and doing something like that." And right in that moment, I was like, "Oh, beautiful. I'm not willing to pay that price." So I think there is an element of becoming peaceful with what am I willing to do and not willing to do to be able to have something, and therefore having a very select this is who I want to be and what I want to have in my life. But yeah, that's just what comes to me. Sorry, Marcus, because I'd love to hear you.
That's so good, Marcus.
No, I was going to reiterate the same thing because there's always a price for these things. And so, I think when you're doing the practical, sort of analysis, Chris, that you were saying, what sort of lifestyle do you actually want and what is that going to cost? I think the balance point is then, am I willing to pay the price at whatever angle that's going to take, there's so many billionaires on the planet who are great examples of exactly that, who are divorced or sick or unwell, or there's only one aspect that looks like it's a whole heap of fun, and the big yacht and the helicopter and the private plane and all that sort of stuff, but behind the scenes it's often a bit of a nightmare. They've got 3 wives or more, or kids don't talk to them, or kids suicide, or there's all sorts of mess that sort of tends to ensue. And anyone who gets connected tends to come to the realization, and we can see a number of actors and wealthy people who eventually come to the realization that it's not everything, and there is a price that you pay, and some of them then turn around and refuse to pay that price any longer. But I think you have to be practical about it, and I think you need to connect into yourself and what your yearning is, and I think if external is a yearning, it's good to look at that, what's driving that yearning versus an internal yearning of connection and love and giving of time and space, and really do some analysis on that. And that can be difficult for men, I get. That can be hard, and that's possibly where someone like a Jason or whoever comes along and maybe can help do that sort of analysis. Yeah,
And I think
to look at both.
Oh, sorry, Marcus.
No, go
Sorry,
for it, Bobby.
cut you off there. I think also in terms of practical things, if you're in a relationship, I think it can potentially be much easier because you can sit down with your partner,
Yeah.
say, okay, like if you've got kids, for example, you can sit down with your partner and say, okay, we've got a choice here. We want to grow this business. We want to get it to X amount. To do X amount, we need to put in X amount of hours, and I'm not gonna be able to take the kids to school. I need to put in this much years, for example, or 2 years, whatever it might be, and or you could say, well, on the other side of that is we want to live in a house in maybe one suburb over, which is not as expensive, and maybe instead of driving a European car, you're driving a Japanese car, for example. But we've got that flexibility. What's more important, and it's very much a conversation to have with your partner, and then you're keeping each other accountable that way as well. Because I think as males and as entrepreneurs, that goalpost shifting that Chris mentioned is very common and much easier. It's much easier said than done to not shift those goalposts. But if you've got that accountability with your partner, you
I think
both
that
know
is,
the price that you have to pay to be able
yeah,
to get certain things.
definitely helpful for sure. You remind me of a moment in time where my wife and I made a different decision that I otherwise would have made. She had breast cancer many years ago, and we made a number of decisions at that moment and after that moment. And I remember we were looking at a new house, and there were two houses that were nearly identical, but one was $500,000 more expensive than the other. They were both mud brick. They were both in the area we wanted. They both had, a couple of acres, perfect. And we could have had both, either one of them. We could have had that, and we just sat there and we go, what do we really want out of this? Do we really want an extra $500,000 or $1 million mortgage versus this one? And the house is slightly bigger, but okay, it's got river frontage. The other one doesn't, but do we really want that? What's it going to cost us? Well, maybe less holidays, maybe more stress for me, maybe longer work hours, maybe, there was all these things we sort of did a bit of an analysis on, and we chose to buy the other house. And after, everything that unfolded, I'm glad we did. I don't really miss the slightly bigger house or any of that at all. I don't, yeah.
So quite literally, Marcus, 2-3 weekends ago, we went and saw a couple of properties, right? I put an offer down on one in the afternoon, and the philosophy behind going out there, where my wife and I talked about, and I was like, look, yeah, we want I'm going to have 4 teenagers in the next little bit doing, so I want a
Good luck
house
with
with
that.
I was going to say good luck.
Yeah, I need a space to myself. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I can have a recluse and all of this type. But I was like, I'm optimizing for peace. That's the thing I'm optimizing for right now.
Yeah.
I don't have to go the bigger house. I think especially in Australia and Australian with properties, it's like I can get a mortgage for X, so therefore I'm going to get it right at that line and pay the absolute nth amount. And there's no slack in the system for that. So I think that is a huge fucking stupid thing and way to think about things. But I think there's an element of like, well, what do I need right now? What do we need in the future? What is it that we want to be comfortable with? But also being the case of like, yeah, sure, I look at some other homes, I'm like, oh, that $8.5 million place, that looks, that's nice. Do you know what I mean? But I'm like, hang on, you know what? I want peace. And so therefore I need to make decisions optimized towards that at the end of the day. And I just think that's marvelous that you said, Marcus. I take that personally. I get a lot from you saying that. So thank you.
Yeah, I love this.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it was an important decision.
what I think here that you're all talking about is a term probably never been spoken about called wealth prevention, which is actually knowing how to balance yourself out through your wealth and through your choices. So you're going to prevent circumstances with issues with your partners, issues with burnout, issues with health. So you're taking a little bit of a step back, and you're able to look and assess and really figure out, is this right for you? Because we've all hit the wall in different ways, right? And if we had our time back, we'd probably do a little bit different. Would you all agree? Right?
That's an interesting question. Maybe for another podcast episode, but yeah, it's an interesting question.
Maybe. And then we have to go through those lessons, and then it's just figuring out, well, how can we do it better next time? And how can we make sure? And I think the thing that we need to do when we're so subjective, we need an objective viewpoint to get us to ask us questions, right? Because at the end of the day, we're stupid, right? Our brain does not do smart things. We will all agree on that from the sound of what we've all done in our history. So how can we actually listen to something objectively without our egos getting in the way, so we can actually hear a different point of view to see if it's right? Otherwise, we're just going to keep smacking up against the wall. What do you think, guys?
Yeah, very much agree.
Chris?
Is that when we need feedback?
Yeah.
Do we need a mirror? We
Yeah.
need the ability to see what is actually going on without us deceiving ourselves.
100%, because a lot of our decisions are underneath the road. They're not surface-based decisions. They're subconscious decisions that we can't even see ourselves. So if a wizard comes in and can actually come in and point out what's really making the decision underneath, then you can make a more aware, better decision on the rubber of the road, so you don't actually hit that wall, right? And we need someone to challenge us to be able to do that, run a little bit of conflict on our decision-making processes to see if
Reality check, isn't it?
Huh?
just a reality. It's a reality check
Yeah,
based
essentially.
on what you want at a deeper level, not just at a head level, ego
Yeah.
level, but actually at a deeper level. Is it going to serve that part of you?
100%. Because
Ego
as
level. Yeah, I
as you
love that.
mentioned, Chris, the true freedom comes from an internal, intangible experience that we bust and then we go, hang on, this is not worth it. Right? But that intangible experience is what you actually need to measure yourself with. Is that intangible experience going to make you feel good on the inside, no matter what you're doing? And if that is good, and if it's improving your business scale in it, great. That's fantastic. If it's not going to do that, then, and we need to know whether it's dopamine, whether it's just an endorphin kicker, or it's a real happiness. Does that make sense? And there's a big difference between those two. And a lot of men don't know how to do that in entrepreneurship because they're getting a dopamine kick through that scale, and they don't know whether that's actually true happiness until they hit the wall.
So the way I have reframed that for myself, what I want to feel is not happiness, it's satisfaction.
I
So
love that.
therefore
Yeah.
I
Okay.
go to satisfaction.
Yeah,
So
that's great.
I not train hard today because it doesn't feel good in the moment? No, I'm doing things so therefore, let's say when I put my head to my pillow each night, I am satisfied, I'm in integrity. Do you know what I
Yeah, I
mean?
love that.
I feel peaceful. And I think that's the thing is like I've tried to take happiness actually out of my vocabulary because I
Awesome.
don't think it does us any justice by using happiness because it's, well, what the fuck is it? Do you know what I mean? I'm grasping at thin air. I don't have anything I can
Yeah.
I can really use where satisfaction for me is like as a man, I'm like, oh, I'm satisfied with
Love
being
that.
able to do this. And I just booked in for a elk hunt in Colorado in a couple of months' time, and I'm like, going hunting for me is one of those practices where there is a deep satisfaction that comes from it. Being with a couple of men, completely no technology for days on end, being out on the land, like being able to feed ourselves, like there's a satisfaction that just doesn't come from looking at fucking Stripe account. Do you know what I mean? Or something along those lines as well. So yeah, that for me, it's just that wording reframe for me actually just like made things feel so much better.
Love that. That's awesome. Sorry, Marcus, were you about to say something? I think I was lip reading you.
All good.
All good. So what do you think, guys? Was that a good sesh today to bring out?
Yeah,
I
that's
think
great.
so. Yeah, I think it was helpful for me as well. I guess just seeing that it's always good to see other business owners go through similar challenges at different stages of their life, and it's sort of mental health is seems as though it's a forever. Well, it is a
It is.
forever thing. You can't just think, oh, I'm guilty of doing this. When I was struggling more, so I was a lot more with practicing gratitude and journaling. And now that I've removed myself from some big stresses of my life, I'm not as diligent. I'm very diligent with my training. That's a big stress relief for me. But I haven't journaled in many, many months. I haven't practiced gratitude in many, many months. So I'm very guilty of that. But it's good to see that. Well, I mean, it's just enlightening to see that it's sort of actually on all aspects at all stages of life. We've got to keep up.
Mm.
Yeah, I think this is super, super important. So, look, I really appreciate you guys saying yes to me to have a chat today, and talk about this. It's a really, really important topic, and listeners, I really hope that you take this information in from these three geniuses, because they've gone through some tough experiences and they've come back the other end as better people, better humans, and with a bit of Yoda experience in them. So please, when you get the opportunity to experience what Bobby, Chris and Marcus do, know that you're in really, really good hands. You're in top-notch hands to get help, support, not just from how to do better in your business, but to do better in life and to make sure your decisions are, healthy ones. That you've got people who really care, and this is why I got you guys on this today, because your hearts sing care from your souls, right? And that's more important than the money that you'll ever make. And the impact that you guys get to make on other people is extraordinary. And I really want to thank you all for jumping on together and having a chat about this today. So thank you so
Thanks
much,
for
guys.
putting us together, mate. Thanks.
Thanks for having us on.
Thank
Appreciate all
you.
your time.
All right, we'll catch you soon.
See you guys. Ciao.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to our podcast. We'd love it if you could like and share it with your friends. Our website address is www.wellnessbreakthroughacademy.com. We also have all of the videos on YouTube under Wellness Breakthrough Academy as well. We also do small courses, live events. I have an amazing book called From Broken to Breakthrough. We'd love the opportunity to give you a hand to help you live your purpose, to find out what you're here for, to give you the direction. Our courses are amazing and we do everything really, really differently than what's happening in the world at the moment. So come and find out how we can help you break your limitations so you can live the life of your dreams. We'll chat soon.